Welcome to the Purpose Cycle podcast. This podcast helps you unlock the secrets to success. Welcome to season 3. Here is what we've got in store for you today.
And that's all I wanted to do was play for Leeds Rhinos, at 16. Some players played when there was 18, Chev Walker and players like that, 18, 19, picked for first team. My journey wasn't like that. And then I was put on loan. And this coach came in, Tony Smith, playing brilliant, loving every minute of my life. And then Tony Smith, the coach, who didn't want me, was appointed England coach. So the guy who didn't pick me, now he's picked me for England. It was the best feeling I've ever experienced in my life.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Purpose Cycle podcast. My guest today has played over 330 rugby league games. That's taken him to the heights of the Super League and international rugby for England. Since his playing career ended, Pete has adapted his purpose and now inspires people to live a healthy lifestyle through his Herbalife business. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, Peter Fox. Pete, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm really good, thank you, mate. Thanks for that introduction. I don't actually know that number myself, and unless I go onto social media. But yeah, I didn't realise it was 330. But yeah,
very impressive amount. Pete,
on the show, it's a real honour. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely, and thank you for agreeing to come on as well. Obviously, I've done a little bit of an intro there, but would you just like to tell listeners a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, so in terms of my rugby, mate, or what I'm doing now,
both.
Well. My rugby, I started when I was actually coming up to 10 years old. It was my dad, my family are a massive rugby league family in York. And unfortunately, my mum and dad split up when I was 7. And my dad obviously wanted to find a way to, to build a relationship with me, see me more, things like that. So all I remember, my first memories was my dad picking me up when I was like 10 years old, I think it was, on a Wednesday night, and taking me down to the York Acorn Rugby Club. And I remember at first I just hated it. Absolutely didn't like it. I had massive shoulder pads on, looked like an American footballer, shin pads on, And it was freezing cold when he took me, winter. But do you know what? It was spending time with my dad. That is what got me into rugby. And I wanted to make my dad proud, like everybody, I suppose. I wanted to make him proud. I wanted to make some of myself. Mum was a single parent at that time, obviously. And, we were struggling. I can remember, making jam sandwiches for lunch, and she was working a job, bringing up 2 kids. So, I always had a motivation to do more. And my dad gave me that opportunity. I'm really grateful to my dad for doing that, starting me off in that journey. But the journey wasn't smooth by any stretch of the imagination, but I managed to initially for the first couple of years I was just doing it for my dad, and then I realised one day I wasn't really good academically. I wasn't really good, I wasn't really good in school, to be honest with you. I was an average student, but you know what? I was starting to get good at rugby. I started to score tries, started to feel good. My dad was proud of me. And I started to watch rugby. Started to watch, the Challenge Cup finals, the NRL in Australia, and I thought, God, what if I could be one of these? And when you're a kid, you dream. I think we lose that a lot as you get older. As you get responsibilities and things like that. But I just remember just thinking, I want to be there. I want to play for England. I want to do that. And I was like, you're talking 12, 14 years old at this point. And and then from there, mate, I got, to cut a long story short, I got scouted. This could go on for ages, my story, but I'm just telling you the truth. And when I was 16, I got scouted, I pursued it, got scouted for Yorkshire, and that was a really proud moment. And then I got scouted. You probably can see this picture. Oh no, I know it's on the podcast, but I'm just showing you now a picture. I'm actually in my den now, right now. I call it the den because it's like I built a pub in my garden. Although I am a healthy, active person, I do like the odd.
Well, it's all about the balance, isn't it?
Correct. So I'm actually in my pub now doing this podcast in my garden, and on that picture that I'm just showing you there is me when I was 16 for England. I got picked for the combined youth, which was an amateur, is combined of amateur and some professionals that were just signed up at that point, and I got played for that, and then I went on to Leeds Rhinos, and that was just obviously a dream come true. I had to pick between Leeds and Cass at 16, and when you're at Leeds, all Leeds sort of coach you to do is want to play for Leeds Rhinos. And that's all I wanted to do is play for Leeds Rhinos at 16, right? But what happened was some players played when there was 18, Chev Walker and players like that, 18, 19, they were getting picked for first team. My journey wasn't like that. I played academy until I was say 19, 20, and then I was put on loan. And this coach came in, Tony Smith, and I don't know if any people listening will know the guy, but he was an England coach at the time. Sorry, he ended up being an England coach, but he was a Leeds Rhinos coach, really famous coach in rugby league, and he didn't really take an eye to me, if that makes sense. He did like me, but he didn't favour me. So I was out of favour. There was other players there that I picked in front of me. So I was thinking...
Right. Yeah. Well, what I'm going to do is going to pause you there because there's quite a few things there that we can go through and we can talk through and unpick. So you mentioned about that, first of all, getting into rugby through that obviously that connection with your dad and wanting to build that relationship and strengthen it further. So was it one of your dad's ambitions to play rugby professionally when he was younger, or was it just a real passion of his, just a love of the game that sort of got you into it as well?
My dad tried. He got professional at York, and he just loved rugby. He loved it. I mean, he's a life member at York Acorn. He played first team. So I'm 36 now, and I'm retired. My dad was still playing now for another 10 years. On top of that, and this is a level playing against, men sort of my, 20 in the 20s.
Yeah,
and playing that level at 46. I can't remember.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he loved it. He still loves it now.
Yeah, and you mentioned as well. Obviously, then you grew your love for the game, and you watched it on TV, and you watched these players playing for England and playing in Australia and all of these aspects as well. Do you think that TV and Sky, especially, do a lot for rugby league, don't they? Do you think that has quite a big influence on young aspiring rugby players if it's out there and the exposure's there and it's been sort of glamorized, but hasn't it? Sport by Sky, Premier League, Rugby League, cricket. It's there all the time for the kids to watch. Do you think that's a beneficial thing?
Yeah, I think it is, and it sort of isn't because you look at it and you think, "Oh, I want to be there. They're successful." You look at them; they're on TV. I'd love to be there. You're famous, but and all this. You want to do, but there's looking at it at that point of view and actually living it, and it's two separate things. I think answer the question, it is brilliant for young kids to look at that and want to be there. And I think every rugby player you probably ever interview would probably have the similar story to me. Like they've come up with this family, they've seen it on TV, they've been to a Challenge Cup final, they've seen the atmosphere of the family, and it just sucks you in. And you want to be there. So I think Sky is a massive part of that. I do.
Yeah. And it's sort of then leading to my next question. It doesn't always pan out, does it, like that on TV? So those young kids will, many of them might go through the same things that you do, that you did at Leeds when Tony Smith didn't necessarily want to pick you for that first team, and your ambitions there at 20, you want to play for the first team, but you can maybe feel it slipping slightly. You went out and learned. So how did you respond in that challenging time? Because for many young kids, they drop out of the game, and it seems a big waste when they do, because it might be a resilience thing. It might be kind of that change of plan that we're not taught as kids to adapt to if things don't necessarily go our way. How did you respond to
that? When I didn't get picked one day, I'll be honest with you, I cried on the train to my mum, and because I didn't get picked, and I had that fear of rejection. And then I just thought to myself, I've had all this rubbish going on in my life. You know, my mum split when I was 7. Seeing my dad, I've got these average grades. And then it was just fear of failing. Like I was like, there's no way. Like I couldn't deal with the pain of it, the pain of saying for the rest of my life, oh yeah, I tried it, but I failed it. And that really, I couldn't. I'm feeling it now. I can't get back there. I was like, no, I'm doing this no matter what. And to the point where and obviously I don't ever advocate this, but I didn't do my A levels. I didn't do my electrician course. And mum was saying, look, Pete, because mum was a single parent member, and I was getting to 19, 20 years old. I need to be paying out. She needed some money off of me. And at that time, I didn't want to move out. I wanted to stay where I was. I was really happy. But she won't. She needed some money. So she was like, Pete, you really think? I remember saying, do you really think rugby's for you? Do you really, I think you should maybe take this electrician route. And that just boiled me even more. I was just inside. I was like, I've got to do this. I am not quitting. And there's something inside me just said, even if it's almost like, I don't know, have you ever jumped into a river or something, or done something absolutely stupid?
it's that leap of faith.
Ridiculous. Yeah, something stupid, something ridiculous that you're like, this does not make any sense. This is going against everything. Leeds isn't working. He's not picking me. Blah, 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 blah. I'm coming up, getting older now. Most of my other players were moving on. I was getting to like 19, 20 years old. But then inside me, it was just like, no, I'm doing it no matter what. Brilliant. I will make it no matter what.
Well, what I really loved about that, Pete, is that you mentioned the fear of failure. And many people would say the failure to many would be not moving into the first team. But for you, the failure was quitting, which a lot of people don't realise. They kind of frame failure as it not working as plan A. And then if plan A doesn't work, that's the failure. But the plan B, it's not an option. Whereas you adapted and you said, right, this is what we're going to do. Failure is actually quitting and leaving it altogether, because you never know, do you? If you don't try, it looks like you took quite a bit of risk there. But that single-mindedness got you to where, obviously, the career that you had. If you hadn't have done that, you might not have made it any other way. So was it for you? You said you just sort of went for it. Was there any sort of calculation there, or was it just, look, I'm doing it, nobody can persuade me otherwise? Did anybody, apart from your mum, did any of your friends try and persuade you otherwise?
No, there was no calculation. No, there was no calculation there. It was just like, I can't.
It's relentless, isn't it?
I don't want to use language on here, but I just went for it. Literally, yeah. It's like you must have done it in your life at some point. That's what I can compare it to.
Yeah,
like jumping off a bungee jump or something, and you thought, do you know what? I'm just going to go for it. Or you come to it and you've done something completely out of the norm, completely out of character, and you've just gone for it. It's like freedom. That is exactly what
I can definitely relate to that, Pete. From my own experience, I was at university and I really wasn't sort of feeling that the crowd that I was with and where my career aspirations were going. I felt a bit lost. I didn't know where I was going. I felt like I was just in the education system for the sake of it, and ended up booking a plane ticket in the space of a month, going over to America and coaching football out there for 9 months and finding myself that way and sort of going for it. And everybody thought it was quite a sort of irrational move just to then take that leap of faith and go for it. But I knew I had to do it because I knew I could come out the other end. If it did work or didn't work, I'd come out better either way. Is that how you felt? Did you feel, if it doesn't work, I know I've tried, and within myself, I wouldn't be able to, I could live without regret then?
100%. And I just thought to myself, yeah, I just had one track mind. I think looking back now, I think what I've learned over the last few years, especially after rugby, is that there's success, right, and there's failure, and people don't realise they're actually entwined. So people either go, you're either successful, really successful, or you failed. Well, actually, you aren't. They're both together. You've got to fail to succeed. You've got to fail yourself forward. You've got to keep grinding and go. You're going to have setbacks. And like you said, perfectly, quitting, would have been quitting's the only way you can fail. Them setbacks where I won't pick for Leeds was, people could say it as a failure, but that was my stepping stone. That was my platform to make that decision when I was on that train. And when my mum was saying you need to get a job, that is a turning point.
Yeah.
And then after that, that's when I continued on.
Yeah, amazing. We'll continue that story now. And so, obviously, you've gone from Leeds, and there was something that I read up as well, where one of your teammates from the first team was buying you dinner. It was that kind of thing where you were like, right, like you said, your mum needed the money, and you was wondering what to do, but you decided to make that full-time go of it. Where did you go next, and how did that sort of pan out into where you got to today?
Well, I went on loan, so I went backwards. People could say it was backwards, but I went to York after that, from Leeds Rhinos to York. Continued with that, so I was with these. And imagine this environment, right? Most of these players in this environment of York was ex-professionals. They might have gone to Leeds, they might have gone to other places, and they'd all got jobs. So I was the only player in that changing rooms who had a desire to go do more, really, in the to go forward. A lot of them were working, and their dream of Super League was over, sort of thing. So that was hard because the different attitude and different environments. But anyway, so I was there for 2 years, did really well with them. Then I got my chance at Wakefield to be full time as a first team player with John Keir, and that's when the first game happened. Because I got lucky because one of the players was injured. The main winger was injured. I was like a reserve winger in the squad. I was full time at this point. I was with the team like I was at Leeds, and then I got my first game against Hull KR. First Super League game on Sky. It was inevitably to the team that changed my life. Well, both teams, Wakefield and Hull KR, were big to me, but that was the game. It was when Hull KR got promoted, and I played in that game at Craven Park. And
Incredible.
Full
circle. It's crazy how these things work out, because I think I read up, if I'm correct as well, we're skipping ahead a little bit, but we'll come back to where you are. But your Hull KR debut was against Leeds, is that correct? So it's quite crazy how things...
Yeah.
It's crazy how things work out in sport and life, isn't it?
Correct. So, as you can imagine, I was on top of the world. Absolutely on top of the world. I played Super League on Sky Sports, first game. I could not have imagined that I was on that. But had I quit, like I said, a couple of years ago, I was on that tipping point. I wouldn't have been there. And then the season took off. I did a really good year at Wakefield. I started to put my name about. I started to score tries, living my dream around different players, professional environment. And then I was just living. I was loving every minute. Absolutely every single minute, driving to training, doing the weight training, every single second. I absolutely love, because I just was grateful. It just oozed off me. And then that's when I got another offer at the end of that year. I only had a 1 year deal, and that's when I got an offer off Hull KR.
Okay, so what was the decision-making process there then to move from Wakefield to Hull KR? What was your main reasons behind it?
Honestly, money.
Yeah, well, it's not.
That's it. You'll just get honesty with me. It was
that's it.
They offered me double what Wakefield was offering.
Wow, and you've worked so hard.
You worked at Asda. Sorry, mate. What are you saying?
Yeah, no, I'm saying, like you're saying, you worked so hard for it. Then you've earned the chance to earn more money. It's applicable in life to all sorts, isn't it? If you're offered a pay rise, you're not going to say no.
No. So I took it with both hands.
Yeah.
And again, that was my second year of Super League. Absolutely loved every second. And then OKR signed some cracking players, international players that I'd looked up to at Leeds, where I thought I was a sort of massively blow, like people like Chev Walker was signed. You know,
Wow.
and you had people who I did play Leeds with, Scott Morrell, people like that, and who'd not made it in Leeds Rhinos, but then he'd gone to OKR and helped them get promoted. So I'd actually gone back with my old teammate at Leeds, which was brilliant. And then that's when the magic started happening. You know, we had just an amazing year, that first year. And I can't remember, it was 2009? Yeah, it was either that year or the year after. So I was playing, playing brilliant, loving every minute of my life. You know, I was with a partner in York. I was travelling to Hull and back, living in York, beautiful place. And then Tony Smith, the coach, who didn't want me, you know, he had all the power to keep me at Leeds, was appointed the England coach. So I was like, this is never going to happen. You know, my dream, like I said, when I was 12, to play for England. And then basically what happened was it was after a game one day, and I remember it like it was yesterday. I was at home in York in my house. I think we played on the Saturday. We had the Sunday off, which was rare. We went for a Sunday lunch, a couple of pints as you do. Went and then fell asleep on the sofa after a big Sunday lunch. And I had 5 missed calls on my phone. From a number I didn't recognise. I thought, oh God, who was that? Anyway, I sort of like left it because I was just waking up. Then it rang again. Sixth call. Right, okay, this person wants to speak to me. So I answered it. This was like 6 o'clock at night. I answered it, and it was in American, an Australian accent, saying, "Hi, I'm Tony Smith. Hey, Foxy, how we going, mate?" And at first, I was thinking, this is one of the lads winding me up. Yeah. Previously, 10 years ago, there was a joke. What happened where someone pretended to be someone that wasn't, basically. So I just thought this was lads banter.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then after a while, I thought, actually, this is actually Tony's voice. I said, "Yeah, mate. What? You know, how can I help you?" And he says, "Foxy, I've got some great news for you." I said, "Okay, what?" I didn't even know this was on. Like, I was just following Super League. Gaz Rain is injured, so we would like to pick you to play against France this week for your first England cap. And you will be playing. And I was just like that. What the?
Yeah.
What? So the guy who didn't pick me, now he's picked me for England. It was the best feeling I've ever experienced in my life.
Incredible, isn't it? I mean, we've just mentioned earlier about how things come full circle for you, but the fact that coach who gave you that sort of initial rejection and then you did show him, didn't you? You proved him wrong to get your England caps. It's absolutely incredible that was the case. Was there ever a conversation about that moment? Did he ever say, "Look, I know I made the right call at the time because it's made you who you are today," or, "I'm glad you stayed in the game"? Was there any kind of conversation or discussion about that?
No.
I just think,
yeah. No. We after that, actually, we had another. We did have a discussion when, fast forwarding time here, but there was another time when I was in the England team when he didn't pick me in that year, and I was with Steve McNamara saying that, you imagine how confident I must have been. I was like, I think I deserve to be picked. Am I done by here? I'm disappointed. To be honest with you, I'd almost sort of gave up. I thought I'm never going to convince this guy, no matter how hard I try. And anyway, when I was saying that to Steve McNamara, Tony's walked in the room, hasn't he? He said, "Foxy, you got something to say? Like, say to me." And I said, "Yeah, I think like you should have picked me, mate. I do. I'm ready for it. Blah blah blah." Anyway, that year they went to Australia and got really embarrassed and got stuffed.
Yeah.
Obviously, I was gutted for England, but in the back of my mind, I was thinking, well, should have picked me. So.
Personally, well, that's it, isn't it? And it's quite a proud place, professional sport, isn't it? from both sides, players and coaches, because there is a certain amount of ego, because you have to make it as a professional athlete, you have to back yourself, because if you didn't have that, you wouldn't get to where you were. So obviously when those personalities clash, I can imagine it's a tricky conversation at times.
Well, it is. And you know what? That's the great thing about Tony. And like I said, he's one of my best coaches by far. Believe it or not. I admire him because, you know, he could have easily not picked me for England. He could have easily not, you know. And after we had that conversation, he obviously realised. And then after sort of started playing some really good games together, that's when we played in the Four Nations, and that's when he did pick me. And I did play against New Zealand, what my dream was, and I did play against Australia in the final, Ellen Road, in front of 20,000 people. Wow. Well, actually, it was New Zealand. He picked me on my birthday on the 5th of November. Actually, it's coming up now, isn't it?
Yeah, is it?
and it was this time. That's what, and he picked me for birthday, and that's how he actually sort of picked me. He said, "Foxy," he says, "Happy birthday, mate. I'm picking you." Playing against New Zealand, and that was just wow. That was just what a feeling that was.
Incredible.
And then I scored 2 tries to even top it off. Him, it's like a dream. 2 tries, and then that got us in the final. He kept the same team in, and then we played against Australia in the final at Ellen Road in front of 20,000 people. When I scored a try against Jared Hayne, at the time he was the world's best player. He was voted the world's best player, Golden Boot Award. I scored a try in the corner. In front of all my family, friends, 20,000 people at Leeds, Ellen Road, and we were winning. Sam Burgess scored. You know, started to step the full back. It was just an incredible game. The atmosphere was like, we're going to beat the Aussies for the first time in 30 years. We're going to do it. But sorry, guys, the story is not good, because then Australia turned it on. They just played amazing, absolutely incredible. Darren Lockyer plays like that. They just tore us apart, Greg Inglis, and then they won.
Yeah.
You know, I was grateful I was there, basically, but I wish but, you know.
It's a good, I suppose the setbacks that you had personally helped you deal with those as a team. It must be obviously, I don't know if it's more hard hitting than a personal, obstacle, because you can only affect a part of that team. You can't affect the whole thing. You've got a group of other guys with you who are trying to make the same thing happen. So does it hurt more to lose as a team or as an individual?
Do you know what? That's why I admire boxers. God, it'd be amazing to be a boxer, because all you're relying on is yourself.
Yeah.
But then again, you're not sharing that experience with, 18 other people, 17 other people in the team, and plus your managers and your physios and that experience of winning. Oh God, it's amazing when you're all experiencing it together. But I suppose as a boxer, you'd have, your other people, but it can be frustrating. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine.
There's many times when I was at the top, I thought, God, I wish I could be a boxer, and just because obviously I'm only reliant on myself.
I come from an athletics background, and I used to love those individual accomplishments, but there were times when I didn't really start playing football until I was about 17, 18. I started to, even though those achievements were a lot smaller, Sunday League football, compared to running at national level, I felt that camaraderie, and I felt like, oh, well, look, if I had the same thing, it was weighted, which one would I prefer? But I got to say, yeah, the individual kind of accomplishments were really, the highs were really good. But again, you've got to look at yourself when things don't go to plan. Was there ever any difficult conversations that you had to have with yourself during your career? I'm looking at, you learn back at York, all those players around you had you mentioned different aspirations because their Super League dream was dead. Did you ever have to remind yourself, or maybe give yourself a kick up the backside if you wasn't quite going straight towards your goals?
Yeah, I always had a really good attitude in training. Train hard, work hard, good work ethic, always be positive. So all these attributes I've instilled in my whole life, really. Work hard, never give up, always stay positive, and believe in yourself. Belief is massive. So I always believed in myself and always had that vision of that I'm gonna make it. I want to go there. I want to do that. So I think that was the biggest thing for me in my career. I mean, don't get me wrong, like, I had some I want always the most professional at times. I wouldn't say I was, say, someone like Kevin Sinfield, who's like the pinnacle of professionalism. I'd like to have a beer. I'd like to have a drink. I'd like to go out. I'd like to enjoy myself because I have the attitude of work hard and play hard. Work hard and play hard. That's it. Just, you've got to enjoy yourself. You've got to, you can't be all just about work, all about accomplishment. You've got to enjoy yourself as well. So, if looking back, I could have done that, but I made massive sacrifices anyway. So I've got no regrets on the person I am. I love who I am, and I think that's the top thing. Do you know what? I am not, I'm not like sort of being gifted what I've got, because there's a lot of players that have a lot more talented than me. I gave up. They went into drugs. They went into, they went and did jobs. They did other things. So it was my not quitting and determination and not giving up, which is a skill that everyone's got, because you can do it. Anyone I met, I say to them, you just don't quit. You don't give up on yourself. You work hard. And they're attributes that everyone can have.
Yeah, it's really powerful, Pete. I just love it because it's not a talent as such that you have to possess. It's born in everyone, isn't it? The ability to work hard and having a desire. Just more, some people naturally sort of bring it out themselves easier than others, but I believe that everyone can do it. What was your attitude towards those guys who had quite a lot of talent in rugby but didn't necessarily work hard enough?
Did
you let them do it?
Empathise with them, really, because you don't know what's going on in people's lives. So in my life, obviously I had my mum, which is an amazing mum, obviously a second parent, bringing up my sister. She gave me some seeds of doubt, but she never was really hard on me. And my dad showed up every day. My dad didn't even have a dad. He moved out when he was. My dad had actually lived by himself when he was 16, and then he never even called him dad. He never saw him, because he went off with this other woman. So my dad is had to be his own leader all his life. So I'm grateful for that, because my dad's been my support network for me to do that. And I just think that players that maybe didn't do what I did, maybe might not have had the support network. They might have had loads of rubbish going on at home. They might have had tough times. You've got to. I've got to say I'm grateful to my family, because if I didn't have that stability, I might not have. It might not have happened.
Yeah,
so it might have gone the other way. So,
what a really unique way of looking at it, actually, Pete. Because a lot of people would sort of say, oh, they're not doing this, they're not doing that. Get on with it, all this kind of stuff. Man up is a phrase that you probably hear quite a lot in your field of professional sport as well. But it's not always the easiest thing to do, is it? It's not a phrase that we probably hear nowadays. So those sort of mental challenges as well, you've got to kind of offer a bit of support for other people. That's a great way of looking at it. And it shows as well that just not one journey is the same. You mentioned about seeing your former colleagues at Hull KR when they came from Leeds. So it's incredible how it just shows everyone's path is different and you've got to follow your own.
Yeah, 100%. And just be grateful what you've got. Like, everyone's journey different. And I believe everyone's got it in them. You just got to keep. I think one of my secrets, what everyone has got in them, is just keep chasing. Just because, like I said, when I was 12, I had that dream, right? And I think everyone has that dream. I'd like to think that. Obviously, like I said, you don't know what the circumstances are with people in life, but everybody has the dream, don't they? Like, they watch TV and I'd love to be so-and-so. I'd love to do this. I'd love to do that. And I think everyone's got it in them. But I think the mistake people make through all the hard times, because don't get me wrong, there's people with miles harder times than I had, miles more, which I've got empathy for. but just keep chasing, like keep chasing, and I think you can chase because you've got it in you. You just got to keep chasing. You've got to keep asking questions and putting yourself in places where you could maybe get spotted, or you could maybe get an opportunity, or you could meet somebody. I believe if you've got that and you keep finding it, I believe that's one of the reasons why, like, I've got where I've got, because I've kept chasing, and I'm still chasing now. To this day, I'm still chasing. I'm still trying to become more, and I know that there's a bigger meaning to what I'm doing. I'm still chasing right now to this day at 37, like I was chasing when I was 16, 17, 18.
Brilliant. Well, we'll touch on that very shortly. There's a phrase, success is no accident. And that kind of, when you're saying about keep chasing, that relentless pursuit that you had, that quote really resonated with me, because what I don't like is when I hear people say, oh, that was lucky. You know, you were really lucky there. Have you ever been called lucky, Pete, with your career? And if so, how do you respond to that? Because you've clearly worked hard for what you've got.
Yeah, 100%. You know, people think that. But then that's part and parcel of when you get success. So this is it. You're listening to the real here. When you are everyone's successful in my eyes. Everyone's successful, whatever you do. It's all to do with your determination of success. So if people look at me and say he's successful because he's lucky, I just think to myself, to be honest with you, it's part and parcel of dealing with success. Like dealing with, I asked for it, you know, like I worked hard for it, and people are going to say that, and I ain't got time to tell my life story at one point. So I've just got to take it, you know, just be nice, be kind, and you know, I can't change what other people think. To be honest with you, all I can do is be my best. You know, they're going to think. Everyone's going to think what they're going to think. I can't. There's nothing I can do to change that. And they won't change their mind anyway. I presume a lot of people like that.
Yeah, and just focus on your own journey, I suppose, as well. And that journey is taking you obviously past rugby. I just want to touch on one thing before we go on to what you're doing now. There's something that I call the Klitschko effect, basically related to Tyson Fury and him achieving his goal of becoming the heavyweight champion of the world and beating Vladimir Klitschko. And it kind of, once he'd achieved that dream, he got the pot of gold, and he then couldn't really see something afterwards. What did you do when you achieved your dream? How did you respond when, you know, your rugby career started to come to an end? Did you start to plan for the future? How did you deal with that, and did you adapt well enough?
When after I played for England, and then I went to Hull KR, and then I went to the Wakefield, and my rugby career started to not go south, but not carry on going uphill.
Yeah,
plateau out, or whatever you want to call it. Getting older. Something inside me was like, I want to be at the top. I want, you know, like, I'm not doing this to make money. Obviously I'm earning a living, but that's not my motivation behind it. My motivation is success. My motivation is, you know, making people proud, inspiring people, being the best I can be. And if that wasn't, if at that point I thought my body, like, I ain't going to get there because all these younger players are ahead of me, and I'm just going to be a normal player filling in the box of, you know, which I was grateful for, but I couldn't aspire to get up the chain or up the ladder anymore. And I was going down because then I went to the sort of championship levels. I lost that spark, if I'm quite honest. So, you know, I started to, I don't know, it's probably lose a bit of professionalism, as much spark as I used to have. There was one time I was taking prescription drugs, you know, from the doctor. Not because I was addicted to him, but just because it eased the pain after a game. That is a pan stuff. Used to give you out like sweets, you know, some of these doctors.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, that's when I thought I need to find something else. I need something else that I can sort of get, do something with my life, basically, at that point.
Yeah, and we talk about possibly starting a new purpose cycle. You completed your cycle in terms of achieving your dream of wanting to be a rugby player, professional rugby player. You played on Sky, and then adapting. So, and the great thing, what we say about when you're going through a difficult time, is being able to have that self-realization of, right, okay, this isn't me. I'm not being that passionate, relentless guy who's always chasing, like you've mentioned. So, where did you get the spark back?
I was at Wakefield at that time, and I had a year left on my contract, so we don't get paid footballers' wages. It's a good doctor's wage if you're at the top level. I don't know what it is now. This was like 6 years ago, and I had a mortgage like everyone else does. You have cars, you want to go on holiday, you want to survive, but you only get paid a contract. You get a contract, year contract, 2-year contract, 3-year contract. So I was coming to the end of this contract, and you get the vibe. Team ain't going well. Don't know what's going to happen. I was just like, I was worried, to be honest with you. Worried about my future. Worried what we were going to do. Like, me and my partner at the time, we had this house. I was going to pay the bills, and I had about 8-9 months on my contract, and I thought, what could I do? But obviously, remember back in my story, didn't have any education, put all my eggs in one basket at that point. So that's when it was my friend. He was doing personal training on the side. I was trying to do personal training. I thought that'd be great, but it didn't excite me. Personal training, working all them hours, and on the night, and I just didn't really motivate me. But I thought needs must, really. And anyway, he said, Foxy, you heard of this Herbalife business, help your customers. And I said, what is it, Ben? And he explained it to me. And I was like, really, really skeptical. I was like, I'm not having it. This is, what is it? What are you talking about? And he was talking about supplements, talking about meal replacements, this, and this. But it was his change that got me. He went from a guy who was older. He was actually, he had a bit of a bad rep, if that makes sense. And he was changing his life around. He was really positive. He was helping people lose weight. He was helping people be healthier. And I thought, am I missing something here? So that's when I said, Ben, what is it? Come and show me what it is. And he did. He showed me. And we met this couple in Wakefield, a lovely, lovely couple who had literally been doing it 4 years, and they were just literally changing lives. They were helping, I'd say, thousands of people be healthier, make a positive change in life. And I just thought, I like this, because at the time I was in a bit of a dark place. So that's when it started. I joined the health and wellness company, started helping people change their life, and that was it. History is made. 13 of my friends and family, my mum, my sister, my brother-in-law all lost weight, got really healthy, absolutely buzzing with energy. And that was my light. This is why I was playing at Wakefield. My light away from in the changing rooms with my coach, throwing the ball, throwing the water bottle at me, saying effing, some of the things that they do in that changing rooms, you probably can't repeat it on a podcast. And that was, and I thought, my future's in this.
Amazing.
And luckily, I took that, I took that opportunity with both hands.
Yeah, and that fear of the unknown, I suppose, relating back to, I suppose, with the rugby, you kind of knew what you were getting yourself into, because you knew the game already, and you knew that there was the fear of rejection there, but the failure of never trying. Did you have that same thing, sort of fear of, I need to give this a try, because if I don't, I could be missing out on something huge?
To be honest with you, when I first joined, and I got laughed at. I got laughed at in changing rooms. Not like really badly, but like, you know, when people are saying it to you, you start second guessing yourself.
Yeah.
But because I'd seen these people change and actually lose weight, feel healthier, create something positive for their life, that's what sort of kept me in. And I started to find my purpose then.
Yeah.
I started to help more people. I started to and then I started to earn an income from it as well, which was great because I was doing something I loved, but I was earning income all on the side. This is while I was busy working. I was doing it with my partner as well, so it was nice to do something together as a partnership. And then the more and more we got into it, the more and more we just loved being a part of it. Helping people with their health. It's just, you know, like you have that score that try for England, score that try, and it's an amazing personal achievement, and it's an amazing, you know, all around you're all buzzing. But I'll tell you what, when you help someone lose weight, believe in yourself more, because I'm really a coach, to be honest with you. I'm a coach, I'm a wellness coach, but I'm like a life coach, because when I help that person lose that weight, start believing in themselves, they start helping other people because they did that. And then they go from being this person who's really just, you know, I don't know, had no aspirations in life, to someone dreaming about something they're going to do in the future. That is an amazing feeling when you see them on stage talking, and they've got a team, which I've helped a few people do that.
Yeah.
It's amazing, and they've got people looking up to them, and they look into your eyes and say, "Foxy, thank you very much for introducing me to this. Because if you want to talk to me about it, I won't be there." So, you know, I've got a different. So it's gone from being self-driven. Now it's service-driven. Like I'm serving people now.
Yeah, amazing. That's a great way of putting your purpose there as well, from self-driven to service-driven. That's really, really powerful. I love the way you used purpose there as well. Real buzzword for this podcast, Pete. I want to. I kept this question back for a while because you mentioned right at the beginning about school, and that you know you didn't do too great at school and all of this, but now you're a business owner and you run your wellness company. So my question is, school's not made for everyone, but what can school do in order to educate these young entrepreneurs? Because most of our businesses nowadays are all sort of self-employed, or you know, entrepreneurs are starting businesses all the time. But the school probably, I'm assuming, didn't teach you the values that running your company has done. You've had to learn those lessons the hard way. What can school do to get our youth up to date, really?
That's a really good question. Very, very good question.
Well, I'm a teacher myself, and I know I'm sort of not slating
Great
my own.
question, mate.
I'm not slating my own profession here, but I do see that the curriculum it's not designed for everybody. We've got these different personalities. You know, you're running your company, and it'd been great to sort of drive that. So you knew earlier on in your career, actually, I've covered entrepreneurship. I've covered, you know, building customer relations, all of this kind of stuff.
Well, I think you need something in there for entrepreneurship. Have you got something in there for entrepreneurship? I'm asking you now. Have you got?
Yeah, that's
Because businesses employ staff. Sorry, businesses, you know, contribute to the economy.
yeah,
Right? When they employ staff, the staff pay taxes, contribute to the economy. They
yeah,
spend money on food and stuff like that. They contribute to the economy. Right? They want to encourage people to build businesses. It's massive for the growth of the company to help everybody. You know, it's going to help more and more people. So for me, if I was in school, what would have been amazing would be having a curriculum on entrepreneurship and businesses and things like that. Not the accountancy, you know, like the number side of it. Because to be honest with you, I am not good at numbers. I am not good at numbers. I got a D in maths. I am not anything like that. Okay, I look at numbers, but my accountant does all that. I'm big in just helping people, you know, doing the do. I love that, the grind, the helping people. But what, to answer your question, is a curriculum and getting speakers into schools. you want to get speakers into schools of telling similar stories to what I'm telling you now.
Yeah.
There's loads of them out there that I'll tell, and some of them will relate to some of the kids, some of them won't. Like telling me story of where you come from and what you've got now. And I think at school, the biggest thing was like, what are you going to do when you're finished? What are you going to do? And that is such a hard question because I don't know what being an electrician is going to be like. So they talk about, do you want to do things with your hands? Do you want to do this? But then another thing they don't talk about at school is what it's going to pay you.
Yeah.
They don't.
No.
That's it, right? You're going to get paid this much money and it's going to give you this lifestyle, which will mean this, this, and this. So my sister, sorry, I'm going off on tangent here, but my wife's sister, Lizzie, is a nursery. She works at a nursery. Okay, she really wants to work with kids when she's older, be a nursery teacher. You would not imagine what she's getting paid now. It's I don't know, £8 an hour or £9 an hour. I don't know what. It's really, really low, and she can't get any further up. That's it.
Yeah.
She, did they tell her that at school? And it's just a thing I don't know.
That's good point.
That's the education you need to be educating kids.
Yeah, and what sort of aspirations you have, and will lead to that kind of your ambitions and your lifestyle. I suppose that is a really good point.
This was possible because our community is going to gives us is go to university and be a doctor, and then you can have a good lifestyle. No. I got paid what a doctor was going to gets paid in a year and a half for being part-time.
Yeah,
and we might with the business, and I didn't know that.
Yeah,
that's my advice. That's
something really that I'd love to pursue a bit more. I know that our school are quite big advocates of entrepreneurship. We sort of do enterprise workshops, and I know it's not for every child. They don't all have the ideas that they want to do, but there's definitely some in there that you notice that don't really necessarily get on with the main curriculum. But when it comes to something like that, you see that spark that you mentioned, and that's why I thought I'd ask, because you've watched it on Sky, you've watched rugby on Sky, you want to be a rugby player, but we don't seem to bring out the Elon Musks and Jeff Bezos of the world. We don't put them on the pedestal for the kids to go, actually, I can have an idea and it could be massive. It's really hard because there was a stat I read, Pete, 80% of jobs that young people have when they're older haven't been created yet because of the way the world's evolving. So we've got to try and give them some adaptability skills and some resilience skills. But that's why I thought I'd ask, because you've shown relentless passion throughout your career in both sort of facets of your career, really. And it's kind of, it's no accident to get to where you've got to today. So really, really appreciate the messages there, Pete. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions that we ask every guest before we wrap up. And I've found it fascinating, to be honest, talking today. And I'm sure our guests will feel the same way, Pete. In terms of 3 values that you live by, it could be either just one word values that you have, or it could be non-negotiable behaviors that you make sure that you do every day. What 3 values do you live by?
To value people, value everybody, to believe in people more than they believe in themselves, and to have an unconditional love for everybody.
Well, and that goes back to the serving people, I suppose. All 3 of those had that theme of it being about others, which really tie in with your purpose.
Yeah, just value every person you meet, value everybody, believe in them more than they believe in themselves, and unconditional love with that person. I have got that every single person I meet.
Yeah, I can sense it as well. Obviously, I've seen you interact with your team and stuff as well. I can really sense it. In terms of that, linked to that slightly, what can listeners do to take actionable steps over the next 12 months?
I just think I'm being honest with you now. Get out of whatever you're in terms of going for a walk somewhere, go for a run somewhere, Go and spend 2 or 3 hours somewhere different than what you would normally do in your normal routine. Take a deep breath and really, really think about what you want in your life for the next 5, 10 years. And imagine you're 12 years old and you've got and blank everything else out of your mind. You've got to just find that place because you've got to break the chain. You've got to break it because you're in the grind every day. You're dropping the kids off. You're working. You're going to school. You're eating, and it's like the Groundhog Day every day. So you're never going to get out of this routine. You always do what you've always done. You'll always get what you've always got. So you've got to try and break out of it. So go somewhere on your own and really think. And get a pen and paper with you and think, where do you want to be in the next 5 to 10 years, and what do you need to change? Otherwise, it'll never change. You'll keep on the grind.
Do you know what, Pete? I'm going to do that as well. And, I'd like to think at the moment I'm moving in positive directions. I'm making positive changes all the time. I'm keeping climbing and chasing that dream, like you said. But even if you think you're doing well, I'd say do that anyway. Whether you're feeling low and you want to make a change, or whether you're flying high and you're thinking it can't get much better, follow Pete's advice there, because you never know how much further you can go. I don't believe there's a ceiling to success, and I really recommend that you do that definitely.
100%. You've got to evaluate what you're doing. That's a big lesson I've learned in the last week. Tenacity and not giving up is great, don't get me wrong, but if it's getting the same results, if you're working hard, you're grafting hard, which most people are, and you're not getting any different results, you've got to think differently. You've got to evaluate it. And you've got to learn, grow, get better, improve, and then go out again.
Indeed. And just one final question, and we're just going to touch on this as well, Pete. You've got a 21-day challenge going at the moment where you're helping people transform their lives basically and set new habits in those 21 days. And you've got a 10-day challenge coming up too. Do you want to talk a little bit about those challenges and also your socials? Where can listeners find you?
Yeah, look, I don't want to. I'm here to serve, and what I offer is help for 10 days or 21 days. 21 days to break habit, 10 days if you want to have a jump start, and I'll just help you with your nutrition one-to-one. Like I've done, I've been using nutrition for 9 years. I feel awesome. I've got amazing energy. It's to break the habit, get healthy breakfast in you, be positive, get your nutrition right for 10 days. I honestly believe healthy body, healthy mind. Probably heard this a million times, but it's the truth. Healthy body, healthy mind. Right? Snap out your routine, get to do something different for 10 days. Fill your body with really good nutrients and help you with mindset. Get a routine sorted. Having daily motivation for 10 days or 21 days. Change your body shape. That's going to make you feel better. Make better decisions. And that's pretty much what it is. I just say to people, try it. Have a go for 10 days. Have a go for 21 days. We've changed. My job is changing lives. That's what I've done. That's what I've done for the last 9 years. And it's very rare that someone comes back unless they don't follow the instructions, that they're not going to change something in their life in that time.
Well, brilliant, Pete. Where can listeners find you? I believe you're on Facebook, Instagram, any other platforms, and what are your handles?
Yeah, so Instagram's hashtag Foxy24_. Hashtag Foxy24_. You can find me, Peter Fox, on Facebook, Foxy24_. Again, the same on Twitter, Foxy24_.
Brilliant.
Because I couldn't get Foxy24, someone's got it.
Well, there we go.
Feel free
definitely get in touch with Pete, guys. He's been obviously a fantastic guest on the podcast. I'm coming away feeling really inspired myself, so I believe you're the same.
Just for your listeners, mate, I will throw in a free sample pack if anyone wants that, and I'll be quite happily mentor them for 3 days. I'll send them out a free sample pack with some goodies in it for any listeners who listen to this and reach out to me, and I will give them a 3-day little sample, and then they might want to try it again.
Brilliant.
But that's for them.
Very generous, Pete. Thank you very much. I definitely recommend going to check out Pete and seeing obviously his challenges that he's doing. I believe the challenges are really good as well, because there's that group accountability factor of being in a challenge rather than feeling like you're on this journey by yourselves. Make sure you go and check him out on all his social media handles. Thank you very much, Pete, for joining us this evening.
Thank you very much. Honestly, it's an honour. Thank you very much for having me, mate. Wish you all the best, mate.
Thank you, and thanks everyone for listening to the Purple Cycle podcast. We'll see you next week.